Hello viewers, I am Dr.K.Anbarasi, Assistant Professor, Department of Chemistry, Nirmala College for Women, Coimbatore. In this video, we will discuss about the effect of soil erosion and desertification. The contents of the video includes the introduction about soil erosion, types and control of soil erosion, desertification, causes and effects of desertification. Introduction about soil erosion. It is the displacement of the upper layer of soil. It is a form of a soil degradation. So this natural process is caused by the dynamic activity of erosive agents, that is water, ice, snow, air, plants and animals and humans. The top soil is virtually an irreplaceable part of the land and takes nature about 1,000 years to build an inch of it. The destruction of vegetation cover is to the great extent responsible for the loss of topsoil through accelerated soil erosion is the modern symptoms of maladjustment between human society and its environment, and is defined as the detachment and transport of soil to distant places. Harmful effects of soil erosion. The first one is soil fertility decreases due to the loss of topsoil layer. Then the second thing is loss of its ability to hold water and sediments. Then the sediments runoff can pollute water and kill aquatic life. Types of soil erosion. The normal erosion and the accelerated erosion. So the normal erosion, which is caused by gradual removal of topsoil by the natural process. The rate of erosion is less, and water causes soil erosion in the form of rain, runoff, rapid flow and wave action. Wind is an important climatic agent which carry away the fine particles of soil, creates soil erosion. Then biotic agents such as overgrazing, mining and deforestation are the major biotic agent cause soil erosion. Then 35% of soil erosion is due to overgrazing and 30% is due to deforestation. Then landslide, it causes soil erosion. Then accelerated erosion, it is caused by man-made activities. The erosion is much faster than the rate formation of soil. Construction of dams, buildings, roads removes protective vegetal cover and leads to soil erosion. Control of soil erosion. There are two methods: conservational tillage and bluffing. The art of soil conservation is based on the following basic principles. The first one is to slow down the water for concentrating and moving down the slope in a narrow path, to slow down the water movement when it flows along the slope, to encourage more water to enter into the soil, then to increase the size of the soil particles, then reduction in the wind velocity near the ground by growing vegetation. In conservational tillage, the process of mixing the residues from previous crops into the soil by bluffing is called conservational tillage. It improves soil permeability and increase organic matter, which in turn improves soil moisture and nutrients. Organic farming, process of increasing organic input to the soil. Example, biofertilizer crop rotation. This is the process of growing different crops in successive year on the same land. So it prevents the loss of fertility of the soil also. Bluffing. It is a very useful areas with low rainfall. That is, placing some furrows to store water, which reduces runoff and erosion. Mulching, that is, soil is converted with crop residues and other form of plant litters. Strip cropping, it is planting of crops in rows to check flow of water. Terrace farming, conversion of steep slopes into a series of broad terraces which run across the contour. Then it reduces soil erosion by controlling runoff. Desertification, this is the process by which natural or human causes reduce the biological productivity of dry lands. That is the degradation process by which a fertile land changes itself into a desert by losing its flora and fauna. So this can be caused by drought, deforestation, climate change, human activities or improper agriculture. Desertification is a process of degradation of the land. So nearly 1/5 of the world's land is threatened with desertification. So this is having major impact in many places on our planet today, and is expected to affect humanity even more in the future as we experience as increase in human population and as our planet faces scarcity of natural resources such as clean water. The process of happens due to a number of reasons, but much of the desertification that is occurring around the world today is caused by the human activity on lands that are extremely vulnerable to over exploitation and improper agricultural methods. The following are some of the primary causes and effects of the desertification in our world. So the first one is overgrazing, overpopulation, then unsustainable agricultural techniques, climate change, famine, poverty and political instability, and deforestation. In overgrazing, in arid regions, grass and other vegetation is necessary to keep the soil in place. If the vegetation is overgrazed by livestock, there is nothing that remains to prevent soil from blowing or washing away, and if this process occurs long enough, it can lead to desertification. Then deforestation, forests are being cut down at much larger scale than ever before to be used as fuel to provide products we use in our daily life, or to simply create more space for agriculture to sustain growing human population. Once the trees and the other vegetation in an area are gone, there is nothing left to hold the soil in place. So the soil then turns to dust and can be blown and washed away. So the soil is degraded and the precious soil nutrients are lost, leaving the soil infertile and useless. Unsustainable agriculture techniques, improper irrigation methods used in arid areas such as canal irrigation lead to a buildup of salt in the soil and make it difficult for crops and other plants to grow, increasing desertification. Then similarly harmful is cultivation of already deteriorated lands. Through inconsiderate farming methods, farmers only speed up the process of desertification in exchange for poor quality crops with low economic value. Besides, while preparing the soil for sowing, natural vegetation that holds the soil in place is removed, leaving land more vulnerable to degradation. Then overpopulation, our planet's ecosystems sustain life only when balanced, so they can cope with the incremental challenges and adapt, but beyond a certain tipping point they collapse. So a rapid increase in human population demands higher amounts of natural resources and expands more and more, moreover, landscapes, leading to increased desertification. Then climate change, as humans continue to remove vegetation from landscapes, there is a less remaining vegetation to add moisture to the soil that will evaporate into the air and form clouds that leads to rainfall. With significantly reduced rainfall, drought occurs and leads to a hotter and drier climate and later causes desertification in the surrounding landscapes. Then famine, poverty and political instability. While desertification certainly leads to these problems, they can also be a cause of desertification. So this is because people on the brink of famine, then extreme poverty or political instability in their country need to solve the crisis at the moment and do not think about sustainable cultivation strategies. Unfortunately, the outcome are poor land use practices such as keeping too many animals in a small pen and unsustainable short-term food production, which might destroy soils beyond repair and put lives of people even more in danger. Then effects of desertification. The first one is the soil becomes infertile. As desertification occurs, the soil can be blown or washed away and valuable soil nutrients are lost. So through the use of unsustainable irrigation techniques, salt can also build up in the soil, rendering the soil useless for growing crops or other plants. As the soil dries out, it hardens and it becomes difficult for any rainfall that does occur to penetrate below the soil surface. And what remains left is a lifeless pile of dust instead of a life-giving medium. The vegetation is damaged or destroyed. The desertification reduces the ability of land to support plant life. Loose soil bury plants or their roots become exposed and cannot fulfill their function. So with the plants dying, rainwater gets washed away instead of being drawn into the soil. So which only scalds up the problems, as remaining plants do not have enough moisture to survive dry spells as they used to. Additionally, if the land is used for grazing at this stage, it only results in a quicker loss of plant species and a total degradation. Soil erosion. The reduction in plant cover increases the erosion of the soil due to the increased runoff and direct exposure to wind. So this results in the decrease of water storing capacity of soils. The process of desertification is worsened as the soil becomes increasingly arid, and there are no more plants to hold it in place and distribute nutrients. Soil erosion is the final step that closes the loop of continual soil deterioration that is impossible to revert. Disasters. So desertification makes natural disasters worse. Events such as flooding, dust storms and pollution all become stronger in areas with heavily degraded soils. Without any plants stabilizing the soil and slowing down the runoff, rainwater easily accumulates and floods human settlements in the blink of an eye. Except causing damage, floodwater also picks up unwanted pollutants while making its progress through urban areas, and that's how pollution spreads over vast areas. Then polluted sources of drinking water. Vegetation plays an important role in cleaning our water. Plants and trees functions like natural filters, storing pollutants such as heavy metals from water in their own bodies. Then barren soils lack this green filter, and therefore more of these harmful substances enter our groundwater reservoirs. Then famine, poverty and starvation. Due to the drought conditions and the loss of productive land, local people find themselves experiencing famine and poverty, as well as potentially the starvation of themselves and their livestock. Collapse of civilizations. There are many historical accounts of how various people groups throughout human history experienced the collapse of their civilization as drought and desertification occurred to their lands. So these accounts include the Gathrage civilization, the Harappan civilization, people groups in ancient Greece, the Roman Empire, and the people groups in ancient China. Then mass migration. Desertification events have been a major driver behind the migration of a large human populations throughout the history. When soils are not able to support their civilization, people set on the move to look for better locations. Then extinction. Species that once lived in a fertile and productive climate may not survive in a newly desertified region. So with a changing ecosystem, species must adapt to their new climate or migrate to a more favorable climate. Unfortunately, some of them also become extinct for their inability to cope with the sudden change of their environment. So this list of causes and the effects of desertification is just a brief fraction of the whole scope of such an extensive problem taking place on our lands every day. Majority of those who are affected the most by this problem are, as usual, the world's poorest nations, where people struggle daily with the direct impacts of climate turning against them, and deserts claim more of their already scarce soils. Therefore, it is important to realize how valuable soil conservation is and try to do everything in our power to help protect natural resources we have. Thanks for watching this video.